Welcome into High Top Sports Network for today's segment with Armstrong Riverhawks. Brayden Wright. Brayden, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Brayden, I think there's one place we have to start. The big home run against Plum, the walk-off home run in extra innings. On a scale of 1 to 10, where does that rank in terms of just the overall baseball feels that you can have playing the game?
That's got to be a 10. I mean, a walk-off home run, especially that far into like extra innings. I mean, it was crazy. We all got like so hyped. It was wild.
It's funny because, I think what made it very unique was the fact that you were also pitching and you'd done such a great job to that point leading up to that home run on the mound. It was almost like the icing on the cake because I would imagine you would have been happy with the performance you had on the mound and the innings you were able to provide there for the team. So that home run was sort of probably just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like dealing out there on the mound.
You most certainly were dealing. Tell me about that. Talk about how how you felt about that side of it. Obviously, the home run maybe a little bit overshadowed the great performance you had on the mound, but how important was it for you to kind of go in there and be the stopper?
I mean, I think I was just out there trying to throw strikes, really. I mean, I wasn't really my breaking ball. If you look at the replay, like the video, I was having trouble with that, but I was just trying to throw fastballs like low, keep it low in the zone. They kept hitting fly balls. That really worked in my favor. Ian Harkerode, he caught so many foul ball or fly balls out there. I think Caden Rupert had a few.
Well, you know
So
what? That's the mark of a good pitcher, though. You gotta keep the ball in play. You gotta throw strikes, like you said. And I think to a certain extent, you probably agree. You got to trust your defense behind you.
right.
Um, Talk about the pitching aspect. You said something interesting there. I kind of wanted to touch on. You said that your breaking ball wasn't moving quite like you wanted to. You maybe didn't have the control that you wanted to. But you made it a point to throw strikes and maybe move the ball around the zone a little bit to kind of maybe, I guess, compensate for the lack of the breaking ball being a part of your arsenal at that time. How do you approach it whenever you feel like one of your pitches maybe isn't as effective as you're used to or you normally have it be?
Well, I feel like it's important to trust your defense always, but whenever you're like not on a day with pitching, like you got to put even more trust in them. Like usually I'll try to pitch around people, but like in that game, I felt like I was just going at people. Like either like the meat of their order. Like the day before, a kid hit a grand slam off of Hayden Brink, who's probably one of the best pitchers in our section, if not like the whole Whippeal. So I mean, even him, I was just going right at him, just like pounding the zone and really putting trust in my defense.
Again, interviewees like yourself, it's fun whenever you're kind of leading me into my next question. You did there again. The day prior to when you hit that walk-off home run, you faced Plum, and Plum obviously has a very long baseball pedigree, and they got the better of you guys the day before. How much did that add to the excitement of the win the next day when you were able to beat them on your home field?
It was really great to like come back and show them that they weren't just going to walk all over us because they kind of did the day before. We were struggling there. I mean, I went 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts the day before, so it was a little bit of it was a rough day for everybody.
Isn't that
But
baseball though? That's baseball. You'll go 0 for 2 the next day. You'll have one of probably the best baseball moments of your life. That's the beauty of baseball. She giveth and she taketh.
yeah,
Talk about where you guys feel like you are, and I feel like maybe that's the kind of win. It's a statement win that can sort of propel you on to bigger things down the road. Do you feel like that game and that moment and how you guys won and just the dramatic fashion that occurred that day, possibly did something and that could help you guys, over this long season and hopefully into the playoffs?
I think that game showed that we can like contend with anybody. I mean, Plum, they're a good baseball school. They have some dudes there to show that we can go out there and beat them. Like, I don't know, just I don't really know how to explain it, but it helps.
Brayden Wright joining us here on High Top Sports Network. Brayden, it's interesting because it seems as though you guys, you got those guys at the top. You mentioned Brink, and you got some guys that maybe get some more headlines. But I don't feel like for the consistency you've displayed this year, maybe you didn't get your proper due coming into the season. Do you ever feel like are you the kind of guy that has a chip on his shoulder, or feels like he needs to kind of like tell the general public, the viewers, other teams, coaches, other players in the Whippeal that hey, I'm not too bad myself, and I'm also a guy that can kind of swing the stick and come up big in big moments.
It doesn't matter to me. I just want to do what's best for my team, help us win as many games as possible, get into the playoffs. That's a goal I have. Finish towards, if not at the top of the section, at least in like the top 2 or 3.
That's something, again, every baseball player dreams of a walk-off home run, especially against a rival, against somebody as big as Plum. But I think what made it even more special was just the fact that you were out there dealing, and then you happened to come up in that inning and just mash it too.
Longest, I didn't even feel like I hit that ball as far as I could. I mean, I hit
Well, what's
that on
that
like
say about your power then?
that was like a line drive. I feel like that, like if I would have hit that even a little higher. I mean, I'm glad with the way I hit it, obviously,
Right.
but I feel like that ball could have carried a lot further if I hit a little higher.
Definitely got out of there in a hurry.
Oh yeah, that ball was.
It's sweet because obviously Josh Schreckengast, also a High Top Sports Network guy, he called the game that day, and he said just the emotion that could be felt, sort of even up in the booth where he was sitting, and everybody kind of meeting you at home plate. How special was that feeling? Trotting around the bases, like, what did it feel like? It went really fast going around those bases, or did it feel like it was going really slow?
I mean, I felt like I was kind of like moving around the bases, like I was like trying to get home because I was hyped up. But I mean, I feel like a normal home run, I probably would have taken a little more time, but felt like I was cruising around the bases. I was like ready to celebrate.
One little cool story about you that I found out the same day that you hit that home run is that we were down at AIA last year. I want to say maybe a couple months later, probably May of last year, I want to say, and getting footage to shoot a commercial. And there was a kid in the gym that day hitting in the cage, working on his swing. His name was Brayden Wright. And so for me, I was always a kind of a gym rat myself. I always could appreciate the gym rat, the kid who's working on his swing when nobody else is looking. So it really was kind of cool to see that it was you that hit that home run, and you were the same kid that we saw that day working on his game, working on his craft in the cage. How much time and how important has this off season been in terms of where you're at right now, and helping you do things like you did against Plum? Because it clearly you seem like the kind of guy who is putting in a lot of time, I guess, when no other eyeballs are kind of around and seeing what you're actually doing.
I mean, we've had a lot of practice for baseball, so I haven't really been on my own down at like AIA as much. I used to I'd go down there a little more, but this off season, I would say like the whole team mostly. I think everybody started lifting, if not before. Like most of the people started lifting in the off season, like especially when Coach Vinny got the job. He wanted to get us in the weight room, which I think that was a big help, getting us like bigger, stronger, faster.
How much you feel like that's helped you in particular?
I feel like I've gained a little velo on my fastball. I feel like I'm hitting the ball harder. I mean, before I think I might have hit 90 off the tee like once last summer, and now I can like every not really like consistently, but like I touch 90, 91 a little more often now.
That's, again, it's there's tangible results, and then there are the ones that show up in the stats. And it's it seems as though you're kind of starting to see both. And the pressure too. That's a whole nother story. Talking about the mental side of things. Being up there in that pressure situation and being able to concentrate and focus in enough to to take a good pitcher too. It seemed as though the Plum pitcher at that time was sort of finding his own groove as well. So for you to kind of mentally lock in, baseball's a very mental sport. I don't have to tell you that. So kind of share your thoughts on that. How what's going through your mind when you're stepping up to the plate? Are you thinking, hey, have the kind of swing that's going to end this? Or are you just trying to, put bat on ball and get on base? Kind of what's going through your head?
my whole goal that was just to catch a barrel and hit it hard somewhere, and it just so happened that he gave me a fastball right down the middle. I mean, if you look back at the video, their catcher set up way outside.
Yeah.
He missed his spot there, and I just gave it a ride.
I was gonna say, I felt like you were trying to not give yourself any credit there. You're saying, "Oh, you kind of threw it down the middle," but here's the thing: you still got to put bat on ball. You still got to put a good swing on it. And here's the thing: mistakes, things are gonna happen in sports, but you still have to capitalize on it, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun to go back and watch. I was actually watching it live, like everybody else would be, on High Top Sports, and I'm there kind of getting pumped up for you because it's just a special moment that, again, you talk about hitting a buzzer beater in basketball, or football kind of doesn't even have an equivalent, unless you're throwing a Hail Mary at the end of the game, which we actually had one of those on High Top Sports this year, but, it's so hard to find a quantifiable equivalent, I guess, to baseball. But you basically did, one of the more rare and unique things in baseball that there is to do. Talking about the season as a whole, because that moment is one moment and a big line of them. What are your kind of goals moving forward? Does a moment like that change, your outlook on the season, kind of what you expect of yourself, what you kind of, want to see happen, or what you what you expect to have out of yourself?
No, I felt like I was already like a decent, like a pretty big contributor just with my hitting alone. I mean, in the preseason, I was like struggling with pitching a little bit, and going into the season, I was mostly getting used as just a DH. I mean, I still do, but I with my pitching getting better, like every game that I pitch, I feel like my pitching's getting better and better. So I mean, and I expected that, I expected to just like be. I don't want to say this. Like in the beginning of the season, I expected to be like one of the top pitchers, top five, I would say, on the team.
Mm.
That's like my goals for myself, is just be like to compete to be one of the best.
But you said you felt confident of what you could do at the plate. Did that give you an extra boost? On the mound, you felt like that's maybe the area you needed to prove yourself at a little bit more. Do you feel like that gave you more confidence and made you feel like the lights aren't too bright for you to go out there and deal like you did in such a difficult situation?
I feel like I'm pretty like composed out there. I mean, I never feel like a moment's too big for me. I don't know how else to say that. Just like every moment, I don't even think about like the moment being too big. I just go out there and do what I know I can do and try to help my team.
What does baseball mean to you?
I mean, I love baseball. That's like every day I'm doing something baseball related at least. I mean, my life just revolves around school and baseball. That's it.
It's always fun to ask that question because I saw you putting in that work at AIA that day, and there are the kids that are naturally gifted. You know this, I know this, and you luckily are one of those people who are gifted with both. You have the natural ability, and you also put in the time to get even better than the God-given talent you have. And only the people that truly love the game are those that are working like that. So it's kind of why I wanted to ask you, and I typically ask that question. What has this year been like, Coach Vinny? Obviously, a transition between coaches. I've had a chance to talk to Coach Santelmo and kind of get his insight and how his philosophies are and what he's trying to infuse into this team. Just share with me about how things have been with Coach and how the transition's been.
I think it's been great. I mean, he has a lot of knowledge about the game. He played at Chipola with a whole bunch of dudes, like Jose Bautista for one.
Yeah.
That's a big name to play with. Yeah, he brings a lot of knowledge. And then Denny Herringer, he obviously pitched in the majors. He knows a thing or two about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then Anders, I mean, look at what the softball team, they're like known for just absolutely crushing the ball. And then to get their hitting coach and bring him here, that's just great. I mean, you see last year against Plum, I mean, we barely scored at all, probably. And I mean, the first game we struggled, but the second game you saw we put up 6 runs. That's probably 6 runs in that game is probably more than what we put up in both games combined last year. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't remember stats, but I mean, it's got to be close.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you're absolutely right. Um, you kind of made me think of something else too, because this whole back-to-back thing is rather new in the grand scheme. I don't know if you experienced life in the Whippeal before it was that format where you're playing home and away back-to-back days. Do you like that? Do you not like that? How do you feel about having to face the same team, in consecutive days, home and away?
I like it. I mean, I never experienced it the other way,
Yeah.
so I don't have too much input on it. But I like it because you're seeing like the same team back to back, which makes it like a little easier to like know what you're going up against. You can remember hitters easier. Like say you're pitching. I mean, if you watched them the game before and you're pitching in the second game, you can know like what spots they may struggle with and not have to really like try to think back. It'll just be fresh in your mind.
Well, I want to do something fun because obviously I got to ask the tough questions like I just did, but I also like asking the fun ones too, because it's always great to get some interesting answers from you. So we'll do a little rapid fire. I'm going to say something. I'll name an attribute. We'll pretend like it's a class superlative, and you tell me which teammate of yours fits that profile. Does that sound good?
All right.
Biggest jokester.
Mason Trekkengoss. No doubt.
What's one Mason Schreckengoss story that's appropriate for High Top Sports that demonstrates his humor and his kind of jokester mentality?
I honestly I don't even know if I can think of like a story, but I mean he's always just like goofing around. I mean he gets his work done, but like he's always like messing around, just like he's always happy, just like keeping everybody happy in the dugout.
Who's the most serious?
Serious? Probably I mean Hayden Brink is serious most of the time. I mean sometimes he's a little like goofy, but I'd say most of the time Hayden Brink.
If you had a flat tire, who would be the first teammate you'd call?
Dustin Coleman. I feel like he knows what he's doing with all that.
Most reliable teammate. Oh, this could be on the field, off the field, but let's just say off the field.
Off the field,
Yeah.
um, probably. I mean, me and Chase Jablonski are pretty close. I don't know if he, like, when I need something, he'd probably try to help me get it done at least.
Which teammate's the most likely to make $1 million in their life?
Probably. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Hayden Brink. I mean, he's really talented. I don't know how far he's gonna go with baseball, but I mean, who knows what could happen there?
Which teammate would you have take the SATs for you if you could?
Nick Kenner.
Do tell. What about Nick? Would you
Uh,
trust him with such a responsibility?
I feel like Nick's like really smart and he like knows what he's doing with all that.
Last question, and this is kind of getting back off the rapid fire. Everyone I talked to your coaches, a couple of your teammates, before the season kicked off, and I asked them, what exactly will it take for Armstrong to make the playoffs, and what is the difficult section?
We just got to play as a team. I mean, we can't have one player trying to do too much and like try to play the whole like win a game by themselves. I mean, when the whole team comes together and plays as one, I mean that's what happened in that second Plum game where we in the seventh inning we scored a run to send it to extra innings. I mean, we all came together as a team and just played great, and you can see we ended up winning that game.
Yeah, I think high school sports in general, not just baseball, it boils down to the team that makes the less mistakes, or the least amount of mistakes. And in baseball, that's having a clean inning, not making any errors, not putting guys on base, not let free passes or hit batters. And you guys, I think that's one noticeable trait about you. You've limited those, I think, than in years past. Do you feel like you're noticing that too?
Yeah, we've worked a lot on fielding. at least last year and this year. I mean, even different coaching staffs. I mean, we still like pound fielding like all the time. That's real important.
Brayden, I appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun getting to chat with you. Again, super proud. It's fun. Again, going back to that story where we saw you at AIA. It's always great when that kid that you see putting in the time like that gets rewarded with an opportunity and takes advantage of an opportunity like you did. Not only at the plate that day, hitting that laser shot, but also what you did on the mound that day, and making our job so easy to pick player of the game that day. It was not a lot of work on our end having to figure out who got that. So congratulations, man. Keep up the great work. We're excited for you, and we're excited for the Hawks here, and hopefully you guys can make a nice little run here the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brayden.
Yep.
Well, that was Brayden Wright, Armstrong Riverhawks first baseman. Brayden, they got you anywhere else? I don't want to just call you first baseman if you're playing elsewhere.
I mean, I mostly in games I'll just play first base and pitch, but I mean, in practice I've worked a little bit into the outfield, like corner outfield, left field, right field.
For like a Garrett Jones, if you remember who he was. Play a little first, play a little corner outfield. But
I don't know.
yeah. Hey, Brayden, thanks so much, man. Best of luck moving forward, and we'll certainly be seeing you, and hopefully more homers to come.
Yep.
Well, that was Armstrong, Riverhawks first baseman, DH pitcher, and anywhere else they find a spot for him, that big bat of his, Brayden Wright, here on High Top Sports Network. Until next time, we'll see you then.